Hello everyone, Ryan here. And I wanted to, I kind of decided that I wanted to start kind of a new series of videos for my channel. Decided to title it Madman Rants, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to upload a bunch of stuff that is just me, kind of mouthing off and insulting a bunch of different stuff or different topics, but what it does mean is that I guess you could say it'll just be a series of videos in which I voice my own opinions about certain things. Now, because it will be on my BookTube channel, some of it will be book related, some of it will be movie related or music related, pop culture related. Some of it will most likely definitely also be kind of related to politics in some way. Though of course, I don't plan on getting too much into details, like too heavy. I don't want to be too heavy on, certain details, especially I don't plan on, pointing the finger at anyone or anything. Of course, if it ends up coming across that way, that's something that I don't know. I guess I don't really intend. But hey, so I don't know. Yeah, and of course, right away I wanted to offer my deepest, most heartfelt condolences to everybody that's been affected by these recent senseless tragedies, and whether or not they are politically motivated or religiously motivated, or whether or not they have any kind of clear-cut agenda or not. At least to me, that remains to be seen. And of course, for me, that seems to not only distract but also take away from the fact that we as a society should in fact focus on more positive things. Now, of course, I'm not saying that we should just completely forget about these tragedies and the lives lost, and family members affected and members of the community affected, and because obviously that's the mourning process is an important part of dealing with these kinds of things. But I don't know, just for me, like, I feel as though whenever anybody starts pointing the finger at any particular person or group, whether they are to blame or not, obviously I'm not going to say that, I do believe that whoever the guilty parties are, I do believe they should be held responsible and they should be dealt with according to, the law, or whatever laws happen to already exist, happen to already be in place. And, though granted, I understand that during times like these, people will often lose their faith in the law and other things too. And I understand that. I definitely understand where they're coming from. But I don't know. I guess just for me, I whenever something like this happens, I tend to focus on, well, maybe not immediately focus on, but I'll pretty much kind of, reflect on it a little bit, and at the same time, be grateful for what I do have. Be grateful for my own life. Though, obviously, still keeping in mind the fact that innocent people have lost their lives, and I don't know. I'll use an example of a couple of years ago. A relative of mine, an uncle of mine, passed away. I guess you say he was definitely one of my favorite uncles, and also favorite uncle of a lot of my cousins. And because for me, before that, I didn't really have any kind of personal experience with death or the loss of a family member. I had before that, but it was when I was much younger. So I really had no recollection of it. So a couple years ago, when my uncle passed away, that's when it really hit me, because it was the first time that, not only was it the first time that I was forced to deal with the loss of a family member, but it was also the first time that I was forced to, I guess you could say, confront my own feelings towards life and death. And though, obviously I will say that it made me extremely sad. I cried a lot, obviously, but ultimately it also reminded me that I should be grateful for the fact that, not only for the fact that an awesome guy like my uncle was in my life, but also the fact that I have a lot of other awesome people that surround me, my family, and I also have a really awesome, close circle of friends. And I guess it made me appreciate life in general. And now I know it may seem kind of cliche to say that the passing of a family member makes you appreciate your own life, but it really does. And I don't know, I guess I will say that something like that, that whole thing about death making you appreciate life even more, has definitely always seemed to me to be kind of morbid or morbid and cliche, but once you're forced to deal with it yourself, once you're forced to deal with it on a personal level, it takes on a completely new meaning. And just like with a lot of other things, where unless you actually experience it yourself, you have no real idea of how to deal with it, I guess, or really you have no experience with how to deal with such a thing. And I don't know. That's I'm sure a lot of people would agree that definitely any kind of death makes you appreciate your life a little more. It's a sad thing to even think about, but it's an unfortunate fact, I guess. And granted, it may seem, what's the word, crappy, shitty, anytime we experience any kind of tragedy, whether it's personal or even if it's just something horrific, like with what's happened recently, uh, it definitely, I mean, when it happens, it definitely seems and feels very, very crappy, very shitty, very, senseless. Um, but ultimately, it does help help bring about a new perspective. And of course, not that that's the only way to help bring about a new perspective, but too often it does seem like that seems to be like the default thing, I guess, where people only really pay attention unless there's some kind of great tragedy happens, or that it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't. I mean, I totally believe that it shouldn't be that way, but unfortunately it seems to be that way a lot of the time. And I personally believe that mankind is capable of accomplishing great things. Uh, and moving forward, and I do believe that we are capable as a species to learn how to cooperate with each other and live in complete cooperation and harmony and unity, and all that good new agey stuff that a lot of people like to say. That's a bunch of hippie stuff, and but to me it's not. I mean, I don't know. I've never thought of something like ideals like cooperation and peace, and I mean, I've never considered those to be hippie ideals or new age ideals. Granted, I know a lot of people do. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess my rambling here might seem kind of incoherent or whatnot, but I mean, if you've seen the poem that I recently wrote and uploaded, that definitely expresses how I feel about the state of society today. Not only the state of society, but the state of mankind. I mean, as a whole, as a collective. If you haven't seen it, I'll provide a link to it as well. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to just kind of really express my opinion. And normally I'm used to expressing myself through the written word, such as with poems or essays or articles, short stories, but I know a lot of times it doesn't really come across that much. I mean, I'm glad when people do kind of get my point through one of my poems or short stories or essays or articles. But I mean, I've been wanting to just kind of practice on, as you say, my speaking, just speaking to an audience in order to try to get my ideas across. And so yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for this forum. Also grateful to be a part of such an awesome community like the BookTube community. It definitely seems as though the people in the BookTube community are very open-minded, very, I guess you could say, compassionate, yeah. I mean, even if it doesn't seem that way, but I definitely noticed it. Very open-minded, compassionate, and willing to share ideas. So, I figured it couldn't hurt to start voicing my own opinions about certain stuff. So, yeah. Uh, sorry if this video seems to be kind of long, or why not. I don't know. Try to edit it somewhat, but yeah, that's really just, I guess, the core, the basics of how I feel. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely believe that mankind deserves some kind of change, and I don't believe it involves. I don't believe violence is the answer. Definitely don't believe violence is the answer. I don't believe more wars are the answer. I don't believe more politics are the answer. I don't believe more strict religious adherence is the answer. And obviously I know that for some people they wholeheartedly believe in these things. They wholeheartedly believe in violence and war and politics and very strict religious devotion, dedication, adherence. I mean, hey, we're all free to believe whatever we want to believe. I get that. I understand that. But so I mean, and therefore, I'm free to believe whatever I want to believe. I'm free to express my voice however I want to express it, as long as it's not hurting other people, or hurting myself, but especially hurting other people. And I believe the same goes for everyone else in this country. I believe the same goes for everyone else in the entire world, regardless of whether or not those other countries are considered to be free countries or not. So, yeah, I don't know. Once again, just wanted to offer my condolences, everything that's happened. I don't know. Thanks for watching this video. I apologize if it seemed kind of long or whatever, but I mean, it's just something I'm trying out, experimenting with. So, yeah. Until next time, keep it real, keep on rocking. Peace.